the all-too-familiar school hallways. I still remember the first time I walked down those daunting school hallways as vividly as if it were yesterday. Every step felt like an eternity, and every face seemed like an enigma. The school hallways, an intricate maze of lockers and classrooms, were a world of their own, teeming with 100 different stories playing out all at once. Walking through the hallways, I often felt like I was navigating a battlefield. Here's a little list to show what I mean. Dodging bullies. There was always some bully lurking around, ready to pounce on unsuspecting kids. Avoiding the tripwire, every so often, someone would trip over an untied shoelace or a strategically placed backpack, much to the amusement of their peers. The locker dilemma. And who could forget the endless locker drama? Whether it was a jammed lock or the dreaded exchange of embarrassing notes, our lockers held both our textbooks and a sizable chunk of our teenage angst. Greg Heffley, the protagonist of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, captures this chaos beautifully in his journal. The hallway was always a minefield, filled with unpredictable hazards. One wrong move, and you're the next laughingstock of the 7th grade. Greg's exploits in these crowded corridors were nothing short of legendary, especially his encounters with the infamous cheese touch. If you hadn't heard of it, you're lucky. Basically, it was this piece of moldy cheese stuck to the blacktop that no one dared touch. The kid who accidentally touched it would be shunned until he passed it on. An elementary school version of social exile. Navigating the school hallways also meant deciphering the numerous unspoken rules. Unspoken rule #1. Never smile too wide, or you'll be labeled as creepy. Unspoken rule #2. If you see a teacher coming, abort all mischievous plans immediately. Unspoken rule #3. Always stay alert. You never know when Rowley's dad might be on another embarrassingly goofy photography spree. Even after all those years, the echoes of laughter, hurried footsteps, and the occasional shriek of alarm still linger in my mind. Walking down the school's all-too-familiar hallways was an integral chapter in my own story, much like it was for Greg. Meet the kids. An introduction to characters. First off, there's Greg Heffley. Greg is the protagonist, and trust me, he's more than just your average middle schooler. He's constantly caught between wanting to be cool and dealing with the relentless barrage of awkwardness that adolescence throws his way. He fancies himself a future legend, but his plans often unravel in the most hilarious ways. Next up is Raleigh Jefferson, Greg's best friend. Rowley is super innocent and kind-hearted, almost to a fault. He's the kind of kid who believes everything he's told and goes along with Greg's crazy schemes only to find himself in trouble. And yet, he never seems to hold it against Greg, which tells you a lot about his character. You can't help but root for him. Then there's Roderick, Greg's older brother. Roderick is the bane of Greg's existence. He's a bit of a slacker, the lead drummer in a no-so-famous band called Loaded Diaper, and a master at making Greg's life miserable. But underneath all that sibling rivalry, you occasionally catch glimpses that Roderick does care for Greg. Just don't expect him to admit it. Man, I can't forget about Manny, Greg's younger brother. Manny is the classic spoiled youngest child. He's the family favorite, and he knows it. With his toddler ways and penchant for getting Greg into trouble, Manny is often the unexpected catalyst for many of Greg's misadventures. Finally, we've got the parents, Susan and Frank Heffley. Susan, the well-meaning but sometimes overbearing mom, often makes cringeworthy attempts to bond with her kids, while Frank, the dad, seems bewildered by the chaos, but has his quirky ways of connecting with Greg. And there you have it, a quick run through the key players in Greg's world. Their quirks and interactions drive the wacky, laugh-out-loud moments that make Diary of a Wimpy Kid so memorable. The struggles of trying to fit in, one of the most relatable themes in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, is the struggle to fit in, and boy, do I know this one well. It was a never-ending quest to find that perfect balance between being cool and staying true to myself. Take, for instance, the time I tried out for the school play just because I thought it was the ticket to popularity. I had no clue about acting. But there I was, standing on the stage,